Hey everybody, and welcome back to some more Botania Gardens of Glass. We're back. Last episode we were working on setting up the Alpine portal downstairs on the lower level near our Entrepinium setup that we have over there. And since the end of last episode, I have spent quite a bit of time updating quite a bit of the base. You'll see that this area here where the mob spawner used to be has been completely redone, and I've also moved the Alpine portal up here. And someone did point out in the comment section between episodes that I was misreading the Lexica Botania when we read the section that says that we can put the mana pools anywhere within an 11 by 11 area around the core. That doesn't mean that you can go 11 blocks away from the core. It means that an 11 by 11 area around the core, which is exactly what it says. I just misread it. But it basically means you can go about 5 blocks in every direction. So we can go about this far out with the mana pools. And so I decided to put them pretty much in the same space as they used to go in previous versions of Botania. I also set up 2 of these little hydrangea pools here with mana spreaders to get some mana into these mana pools. Right now, there isn't enough mana in there to actually open it, but hopefully maybe later on in today's episode, we will be able to open this up and start to get some use out of it. But I've also done quite a bit of other work since the end of last episode, including building this multi-tiered mob spawner and trying my best to get it fully powered. Now, I haven't quite taken care of the Enderman problem yet. We still do need to make that flower in order to get rid of these guys, but I'll show you what this mob spawner is doing and how it works. So the top 3 cubes here are all too high, so they can only spawn spiders, zombies, skeletons, and creepers. They can't spawn endermen, so we shouldn't have quite as many flying around. Mostly I was doing it just to get more gunpowder, but not having endermen everywhere does help quite a bit as well. And then the bottom one is 4 high, so endermen can spawn in there so that we can hopefully keep our supply of ender pearls nice and high. And then other than that, they are basically just 6 wide in every direction, so it's a 13 by 13 box all around so that the Belthorns can kill all of the mobs. And then over here, we have basically a hydrangea tower. And between episodes, I have made a bunch of hydrangeas, and what we should be able to do real quick here, I'll get to how this mob drop system works in just a second, but before we do, let me quickly, first of all, eat some bread so we can keep running and we don't die. And also, let me see about making a bunch of floating hydrangeas so that we can fill in this kind of water tower over here and get our mob spawner up and running to full speed again. So for that, we are going to need to get ourselves a bunch of flowers, which shouldn't be too hard. Glowstone, I don't think we've got too much of it, but as I mentioned in the last episode, we should be able to just throw some redstone into our mana pool with the alchemy catalyst, and it should work out just fine. And we've got a ton of redstone now, thanks to the Orchid, which I do intend on automating in today's episode. But before we do that, let us make ourselves a bunch of glowstone. I'm hoping we've got enough mana to make this happen. We do indeed. We've got quite a bit of mana in both of these mana pools here. We can then grab our mystical black flowers, create them into glimmering flowers, and then we should be able to do something like this. And if we quickly grab some of our grass from our chest over on the end here, we should be able to make a bunch of pasture seeds. Good stuff. And then once we've got the pasture seeds, we can, of course, craft up a bunch of floating flowers and get a bunch of mana for our mob spawner. So let's not do it in there, because I'm fairly certain that the alchemy catalyst kind of messes with it a little bit. And instead, let's get 16 grass, drop it all in there, 16 pasture seeds, craft those up like so, and then craft those with the hydrangeas. I don't think that's quite going to be enough hydrangeas to get all of this set up, but it'll be enough for now, and I'll make some more when I cut away later on in the episode. So the idea here is that we have mana produced in kind of one central location that's going to be right down here. And I wanted a consistent renewable source of mana, which is why I went with the hydrangeas again. Although we've got the Entrepinium flowers over on the other side over there, it's not very consistent. We don't have enough gunpowder or enough sand or enough automation yet to make that fully automated. And so instead, I decided to go with the hydrangeas, because even though we have to replace them pretty much at the start of every episode, they produce a decent amount of mana, and they're very easy to make, and they're very easy to set up and get running. So all of the hydrangeas on this side will connect up to that mana spreader up there. I did set up a bit of a ladder here so I can kind of show you how this works. And then most of the hydrangeas on this side connect to that mana spreader down there. And that is not at all what I wanted to do. Let me take that out of my shield slot real quick. And then this one over here then sends the mana to this pool, and so does this one. They all go over to there. That one down there has an efficiency lens on it so that it doesn't lose as much mana as quick, so the most mana possible gets to the mana pool. We then have one mana spreader next to that mana pool. If I can get over to here, I think I'm going to have to drop. Yep, that's fine. So this mana spreader on this side here then sends mana further up to another mana pool, and the one on top of it here, and again with both of them having the efficiency lenses on there to make sure that we don't lose really any mana whatsoever. We're still going to lose some, but we lose the smallest amount possible. This one is shooting over to this mana pool, and then this mana pool is being used to power this Belthorn and this Hopper Hawk. So this Belthorn is working on the bottom box, the one that's 4 high, as well as this box up here, our first 3 high box. And then if we go a little bit further up, we have basically the exact same setup, but just up here now, we've got another mana pool, another mana spreader, another efficiency lens, and then over here, yet another mana pool, another Belthorn, and another Hopper Hawk. All of the Hopper Hawks are above chests, and then below the chests, there is a hopper connecting to an open crate, if I show you this real quick, so that all of the drops from the top 2 sections here will get captured by this Hopper Hawk, drop down into the chest. The chest will then drop them into the open crate, which will then drop them down into the range of the lower Hopper Hawk, which will then do the exact same thing. It will get all of the items, put it into a chest, from the chest into the hopper, from the hopper down into the open crate, dropped down all the way to the bottom, so that all of the mob drops in the system come together at this one Hopper Hawk over here. And as you can see, we have already filled up this chest to a ridiculous amount. I did put in all of the stuff from the iron chest that used to be upstairs, and so it hasn't quite done all of this between episodes, but we do now have a lot of mob drops, so this is something that we need to take care of pretty soon here, otherwise we're going to start getting server lag from all these items that are dropped, and they're also going to despawn, and we're not going to get to keep all this gunpowder, which is going to be useful for our Entropinium mana generator. And so the first thing that I want to do in today's episode is get a little bit of wood and set up a bunch of Hopper Hawks that are filtered. We mentioned this a little bit in a previous episode, but you can filter what a Hopper Hawk picks up by putting an item frame onto the chest that it is next to. So if we grab some wood real quick, and if we go and make, I think like 6 maybe, chest should be fine, because I want to have 1 chest for each of the main mob drops, and then maybe 1 chest, maybe 5 chests and like 1 generic chest, because things like spider eyes and witches hats and golden nuggets, stuff like that, we don't need to have a specific chest for, but things like arrows, having a specific normal iron, gold, or diamond chest would really help in our storage capabilities. So let's grab just a bunch of wood here real quick, and let's craft up, yeah, we'll go with 6 chests. I've already got 6 Hopper Hawks, so that seems like a good number for us to go with. And the reason why I haven't filtered any of our Hopper Hawks up until now, even though our cobblestone and, oh my goodness, look, another Enderman has stolen this piece of dirt here. We don't have a Hopper Hawk here now. That's a pain in the backside. But the reason why I haven't filtered them is because we didn't have any cows, and therefore we didn't have any leather. But people did point out in the comment section that you can actually just put rotten flesh into a mana pool with an alchemy catalyst, and you will get leather. And so actually we can make this stuff super easily. So we'll get 6 leather, like so, and then to make an item frame, I'm fairly certain it's just sticks and leather. It is indeed. So let's go to our crafting table, get ourselves a few more sticks, like so, and then we can just craft those up like so. And once we've got all of those, which we don't quite have just yet, not enough sticks, but there we go. And what we can now do is we can take all of our Hopper Hawks, all of our item frames, and all of our chests, bring them over to here, and we're basically going to have 1 chest for each of the key drops. So let's see here, 1, 2, yeah, well, actually, we'll do it like this. We're going to have to spread them out a little bit more than this. So we'll take this one, pick it back up, and we'll do 1, 2, 3, and then on this side we'll do the same thing, 4, 5, and 6, like so. And then all we're going to do is we're going to do item frame, item frame, item frame, item frame, item frame, and item frame. And then now that we've got that done, we can go and grab 1 of each of these. Let me clear my hotbar just a little bit here. So rotten flesh is 1 of them, gunpowder is another, bones are another, string is another, arrows are definitely another. That's 5, and I think everything else other than that, I'm just going to have go into a collective chest. So we'll do rotten flesh, we will do gunpowder, bones, string, arrows, and then this one here, we're going to take off the filter for now. This one can be generic, although I guess we could leave this one here, and instead we could have maybe ender pearls go into that one there, because we do have quite a few of those as well. So let's do this, and then what I'm going to do, instead of having just like a bunch of Hopper Hawks all in the middle of this like pathway here, so like here and here like that, what I'm going to do instead is I'm just going to make a few more of those floating flowers. I'm going to turn these into floating Hopper Hawks real quick so that we can just put them down on top of the chests, and overall just have it look a little bit nicer. And a few more floating flowers later, and we could do something like this. And so now, pretty much everything should be filtered out into its own chest. We could probably even do something like this and just start throwing things onto the floor, and they should end up in their correct chests very quickly here. There we go, everything's being picked up. Everything should be being put into the right chest, although it's not, because this one is picking all the stuff up, which is really not what I wanted. What we might have to do here, I'm not sure actually. I'm not sure if there's a way that we can stop this guy picking it up first. I would hope that because these ones are filtered, it would maybe go into there first, but it looks like it's not going to, so we might have to get rid of that. And then now, obviously, if we were to throw these on the floor, they should go into their respective chests, but it does mean that stuff that is not filtered here is just going to kind of sit on the floor until it despawns, which is not a terrible thing because most of it we don't necessarily need. Things like redstone, things like glowstone, feathers and chickens, they're nice to have, but we don't need them. We can get them from other places. And so for the time being, at least, I might just let those kind of despawn. That is not all what I want to do. I don't know if there's a quick way for me to drop these. Actually, I can probably just drop them into here because we actually just got pretty much only arrows there. So we'll do that. And yeah, I think I'm just going to let everything else kind of sit on the floor. If I walk past this and I pick some stuff up, I will put it into this middle chest here. But for the time being, this should work out just fine. It's a nice way to filter all of our stuff so that we can store more and we can also produce more now that we've got this bigger mob spawner. And so what I'm going to do here right at the start is I'm going to get as much TNT as we possibly can to see how much mana we can produce in today's episode. Hopefully, we will have enough, although I'm not quite sure. I was going to say hopefully we will have enough to get us through the entire episode. Like we can make all the TNT, put it all away, and we'll be done by the end of it. But unfortunately, our cobblestone generator has stopped working. It hasn't stopped working, but the hopper hock is gone, and therefore it stopped picking all of the stuff up, which means we can't make that much sand, which means we probably can't produce enough TNT here, but nevertheless, we'll produce as much as we can. We'll take this last 6 cobblestone. There we go, and now craft all of that up into a little bit of TNT, and what I'm going to do now, guys, real quick, is I'm going to go away, and I'm going to get all of the stuff that I need to automate the orchid. So I want to be able to put down stone, I want to be able to have that stone turned into ore, I want those ores to be automatically broken, and then I want hopper hocks to be able to automatically pick up those ores, and then preferably I would also like to be able to automatically smelt those ores into iron and gold, and then also filter out things like redstone and diamonds. All the stuff we're going to use today is stuff we've already made, so like the Ranuncarpus is going to be used to place down stone, the orchid we've obviously got, the ball lens is something we've also already made. And so again, I'm going to go away, I'm going to get all the stuff that we need. Again, it's all stuff that we've made before, and so you're not missing anything. You just have to watch me make it again on camera, and I'll be back in a second. And not too long later, we should now have everything it takes to fully automate the orchid. So over here, I've moved all of the ender flames that used to be down by our entrepinium setup. And the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to put down basically an open crate above all of these. And let me get like a little bit of cobblestone here just to kind of get this a little bit higher up off the ground. And by the way, everything here on this first level of my inventory is what we're going to use to automate the pure daisy. And so if you want to do the same kind of thing, these are the items that I'm going to use, including these 2 Ranuncarpuses here. You probably don't need 2 Ranuncarpuses, but I found it makes it a little bit easier and also makes it a little bit faster because the first Ranuncarpus can be a little bit slow to put some of the items down. But basically, we're going to have this here. We're going to break that piece of cobblestone that we do not need to be there. And what's going to happen essentially here is we're going to have a mana spreader, which is going to go, I guess, for now, like around here. I might have to move things about a little bit to make sure that everything is close enough to the ender flames. But I think this for now should be fine. And of course, this is going to have a hovering hourglass as well as a ball lens. And so the idea here is that we are going to have another open crate, which I'm going to place in a very similar fashion to the one that we have downstairs for our entrepinium setup. So we're going to have the open crate right about there. This one is going to drop stone onto the floor. That stone is then going to get placed down by the Ranuncarpus onto a couple of pieces of cobblestone. So I want to make sure that these are close enough to where our mana pool is going to be. We're going to have a mana pool over here. That is another item that I do need to craft that I do not have on me right now, but we can go make one of those in just a second. And then we do need to get rid of a couple of pieces of grass here. This is where the cobblestone is going to go, and we do need to place down some cobblestone beneath both of our Ranuncarpuses to make sure that it knows where to place the stone. Right now, I was thinking about setting up the automatic stone generator that we had downstairs up in this new area here. You'll see I've kind of taken it down. What I'm going to do for now is I'm just going to put the stone into the open crate and have it drop on its own. That does still mean that it won't be a fully automated setup just yet. We do need to automate the creation of the stone and the sending of the stone to the orchid setup. Speaking of the orchid, we may as well come and grab it whilst we're down here. The reason why I haven't just replicated the one that we had over here is because I don't think that it's going to be fast enough, because the setup that I'm about to use here uses quite a bit of stone. It does it quite quickly, and so I think what might be a faster way of getting stone for this setup is maybe just smelting cobblestone. But I'm going to have to do some testing with that. I'm going to have to find out the best way to do it. You can see over here, I did originally have the stone set up over here. It's even got the weight lens on the mana spreader because I did have it set up, but it was just far too slow. So let's throw down some cobblestone along here. We'll start with 5. We might add some more kind of like here and here if things go well and if the mana burst has enough potency to break through all of the ores. But for now, we'll leave it like that. We also need to get rid of this and this. We need to place down some cobblestone beneath both of these. So one there and one there. And then now that we've got that, I think we should be pretty much good to go. Let me quickly craft up this mana pool here on the way back up. Also, I probably should be using the staircase that we have on the other side there, because I think it's a lot faster than climbing up these ladders every time. But nevertheless, now that we have our mana pool, essentially what we're going to do is we're going to have the mana pool behind the mana spreader with the ball ends. And so this is going to go down right about here. We're then going to use some of these mana spreaders to transfer mana from the Endo Flames down and into this mana pool. I'm going to spend a few seconds here to connect all of these Endo Flames up to the correct mana spreader, but once that's done, we will then go ahead and connect each mana spreader to the mana pool like so. And from what I've seen testing, the Endo Flames should get enough coal and should produce enough mana to keep this system going, hopefully infinitely, so we get an infinite amount of ores that just keeps on working. So we're going to find out whether or not that is true. We'll put this back down over here. I have 7 chests, 6 of which are going to be used for collecting all of the ores and all the redstone and emeralds and whatnot that we get over here. And then the last one is going to go over there to collect all of the coal. I kind of like how this is symmetrical right now, but we are going to have to make it just a little bit unsymmetrical by putting one more down over there. Hopefully that's not too far away from where the stuff gets dropped. If it is, we can always move some stuff around, but for now, I think that should work out just fine. And then essentially what we're going to do over here is we're going to use our hoppers to transfer the coal into the open crate like so. And we're going to do this with multiple hoppers, basically because we need to make sure that the coal that could be dropped over here, for example, if we place stone down on this block and it gets turned into coal ore and then gets broken by the ball ends, the coal ore could fly over to kind of over here. And we need to make sure that the hopper hog that is going to be attached to this chest that we're going to place down right about there has a big enough range to be able to pick up really any coal that gets thrown around. And this might not even be close enough. We might have to put down a few more hoppers to kind of move it in a little bit. But for now, this should work out just fine. We then have 7 item frames, 1 for every single chest here, so we can make sure that nothing gets picked up by the wrong hopper hog. We don't want any of our coal coming into these chests, and we don't want anything like redstone or diamonds or iron ore or anything like that to end up over here in this open crate. And so now that that is done, let's go ahead and throw down a few of these floating hopper hogs. They should all be able to pick up things in this area. Again, I'm not quite sure if this one over here is going to have a large enough area, and I can't even see the area of that one, but I think it might not quite have enough of an area to get over here, but maybe once it gets some mana from the mana pool, that might change and it might be able to reach just a little bit further. And then now that that's done, the final thing we need to do is set up the timers as well as setting up a bit of redstone here, because again, we're going to have kind of the same setup where the open crate is not constantly on, it's on a timer, so it will drop stone every couple of seconds. And from what I found in my testing, approximately 3 seconds for this timer and about 17 seconds for this timer seems to work quite nicely for the setup that we have over here. So let me go and quickly grab a little bit of redstone. I know I just said I should be using that staircase, and although I do think it gets us down faster, it does take an awful lot longer to get over to our chest over here. But let's grab some redstone. We do need a redstone torch, I think, just like we have in the other setup. And so let me quickly grab a stick and craft that up like so. And then now that that is done, I think we might be ready. I am going to fill up this mana tablet a little bit. And also, we don't really have much, and by much I mean anything in the way of coal, which is not particularly great because we do kind of have to kickstart this system a little bit, but we should have a good amount of mana both in this mana pool and also over here in this mana pool. So I'm going to quickly drop that in, wait until that's pulled out almost all of the mana, and I think that should be more than enough to get this system started. So let us head on back up. Where is our bread? Let's also quickly eat so we don't starve. We really need to get the flower that keeps Enderman at bay, because we have far too many Endermen walking all the way around our base. It's not good at all. But now that we have this, let us go ahead and throw this into here. That should by default, I believe, be set to pull the mana out of the mana tablet and into the mana pool. It has, however, dropped it on the floor over here, which is not what I wanted, but we do need to actually go ahead and put things into the item filter. And now that that is done, I think we are almost good to go. One thing we do need to do really quickly is go and grab some stone so we can get the system going. But once we have that, I think we should have a fully automated system that produces all of the ores and mines them and sorts them for us, which is going to be pretty great. So let's start by throwing this stack in. We are going to need much more than a stack to keep it sustained for any period of time. And also, actually, quickly before I do this here, we do need to get some more sand as well. And once we have the sand, I think we should now be good to go. Now, I have built this a little bit far back, and so I'm going to have to break this in order to get our timer down, but that's fine. We'll then put our first piece of redstone here, our second piece of redstone up here, and again, just like we have it down by the Entropinium setup, we're going to put down our redstone torch underneath here like this. That should toggle this redstone on and off, depending on the redstone signal that comes from our hourglass over here. And then over in this hourglass, we're going to put in 17 sand like so. This one's going to have 3, and the reason for that discrepancy is because this one has to drop 5 pieces of stone before this one can pick it all up. And from what I've seen testing, the Ranunculpuses don't seem to like to put cobblestone down if it's dropped too quickly. If there's too much of it all over the place, it doesn't seem to work too well. I'm not quite sure what that's about, but this does not seem to be working, and that is because we do need to, first of all, pretty much filter everything that we have here. I didn't want to do that, but I think this is going to be picked up, yeah, by one of our hopper hogs here. And so let me quickly, guys, go away. We want to put redstone on one of these. I'll put redstone there, but let me quickly go away. Let me fill all of these item frames here with the correct items, and I'll be back in a second. Okay, so I filled all these with their respective items. I didn't have any gold ore just yet, and so I've placed an egg there for the time being, and so I believe these Ranunculpuses should begin, if they have any mana, which they do not. Did we put some mana in the mana pool? We did. Are these connected up to the correct mana pool? They are not. No, they're not. They're connected to the one down there for some reason. Let's quickly switch this to bind mode, do something like this, and then do something like, if I can find the hitbox, this. There we go. Those are now all connected up, which is good. These are connected up to here, which is good. These endo flames are not yet connected up to the correct mana spreader, but that is fine. And these Ranunculpuses should begin to place things down onto the cobblestone. We have correctly placed the cobblestone beneath here, but for whatever reason, it doesn't seem like it wants to place them down. Let me pick these up and let me start afresh here. Like I said before, it kind of acts a little weird when there are too many down like this, but also it could be placing them on lower pieces of cobblestone. Let me have a look here. Is it trying to place them down on other pieces? I can't see any. But just to be safe, we should probably change the material that we place it on. For example, we could use something like oak wood maybe, or possibly even netherrack. We could switch it up so there's no chance at all that it would try and place it onto something else, because we do have quite a bit of cobblestone already kind of around here. But for whatever reason, that does not seem to want to work. So let me quickly change this up here. I'm going to replace all of this cobblestone with netherrack, and we're going to see if this actually works. Okay, so the Ranunculpus placed down that piece of stone there. So let's fill this back up with some more stone here. Let's put the 3 sand back into this hourglass. So let's give this another go. Is it going to work? It places down the stone. The Ranunculpus should then place that on the floor. It's still not doing it. Again, it might be a little bit too fast, potentially, but I really don't think that should be the case. Also, I'm not really too interested in having pigs up here. And one of the main reasons why I have 2 of these is because one of them seemed to be a bit too fast. Let me try changing this a little bit. If I put this up to 4 or 5 seconds maybe, we'll see if that is slow enough for this to work, because it's proven that it does have the reach and it should be able to place those down there. But I think when too many are down at the same time, it doesn't necessarily like it. Alright, so again, a little bit more tinkering later. I'm going to set this back to 3 here. I think I've changed a few things. So, one thing that I've done is I've changed the material underneath each of these Ranunculpuses, because I think that could have had something to do with them not being placed down correctly, although I'm not 100% sure of that. And also what I've done here is I've moved the open crate forward a little bit, because I think that having the pieces of stone directly in front of this active piece of redstone could also have been interfering with the signal. Either way, it is now working. And also I'm going to get rid of these pigs just because the sound is infuriating and they're also freaking everywhere. But this is now working. I did make the mistake of not turning our mana spreader into a pulse mana spreader, and so we're going to do this very quickly like so. Put that down right there, put on the ball end, and then in a few seconds it should go through, it should break all of these ores, the coal should get sent up and fed back down to the endo flames, and everything else should get picked up into its respective chest, and then we'll put some more stone into our hopper to keep the system going. And now what we should see happen here is we should see all of the pieces of stone get put down. The timer is going to be a little bit off there because I had to put the stone in, but on this next time around here, we should see a full 5 pieces of ore down before the mana spreader sends out the burst and everything gets picked up. And there we go. It does seem to maybe be a little bit slow, if anything, but it seems to be working just fine. It's putting down all the stone, which is good. All of the coal looks like it's being picked up. And if we look in these chests, we can take out all of the unnecessary pieces of stone that were collected before we put down our filters. And then what we can do is we can put this back into the hopper, and we should have a almost fully automated system of producing all of the resources that we can get from the Orchid, because from my testing, this should work indefinitely. I believe you produce more mana from the coal that you get from the Orchid than it actually requires to run the Orchid, and so this system should run indefinitely. The only problems that we could run into is occasionally pieces of redstone I've seen are placed down on the floor here, because the Random Carpus will put down redstone instead of stone, which can be a bit of an issue. It does seem like the timer here is maybe a little bit too slow, and so I'm going to quickly lower it to maybe 15 instead of 17, shave 2 seconds off there. But like I said, it does run through quite a lot of stone. We're running through 5 pieces of stone every 15 seconds, and so we do need to be able to produce at least 1 piece of stone every 3 seconds to be able to keep up with the dropper that's going on over here. And also, you can see maybe this is dropping a little bit too fast. We might have to tweak that to maybe 4 seconds. We'll see, but the system, for now at least, does work. We could also do with maybe some kind of delayed hopper hawk that occasionally picks up any loose stone, which I believe you can do with a redstone signal, because if you give a redstone signal to a hopper hawk, it won't pick up anything. It will basically stop working. And so what we could do is we could put another chest on top of this hopper here, and then give that a floating hopper hawk, give it a filter, give it a redstone signal, and give it a timer so that maybe once every minute it picks up any loose stone, just to make sure that we don't waste stone, and also to make sure that we don't just cause a bunch of lag by having a ton of stone all around here. But for the most part, this has been a success, and now we don't have to cut away every time we want to get all of our stuff. What we will do in the next episode, or one of the things that we will do in the next episode, is we'll look into automating the process of turning all of our iron ore and all of our gold ore. Speaking of which, do we have any yet? I haven't seen any, but we could do with some fairly soon here so we can get this filter working. But we'll look into crafting and setting up a system that automatically smelts all of these ores, which is actually not too hard to do. If we look in our Lexicon Botania, I cannot think of the name of it off the top of my head. I think it's the Exoflame. Yeah, unlike its generating counterpart, the Exoflame utilizes mana with means to generate heat. Any furnaces nearby to the Exoflame will be fueled and given a speed boost for the cost of some mana. And so depending on how much mana we have kind of left over in here, I think we should have a very small kind of mana gain as we go along. So eventually this mana pool should fill up, although it will take a very, very, very long time to do so. But hopefully we might be able to use that excess mana to maybe fuel furnaces to smelt this stuff. I'm not quite sure. That might be a little bit too much mana. We'll have to find out. Also, you'll see this iron here is not getting picked up because it is a bit too far away from the iron ore. Actually, it doesn't seem to be too far away. Oh no, that's gold ore. Okay, give me a second here. Let's get rid of the egg. Let's throw down our gold ore in there. And now the system is pretty much complete. We do still need to sort out the sun system, and we do still need to sort out the smelting, but for the most part, it works. And with that, guys, I'm going to take this out just so we don't waste mana here pointlessly. But with that, guys, I'm going to end this episode of Gardens of Glass there. As always, thank you for watching. Apologies for the massive delay between episodes. Hopefully, episode 9 will be out fairly soon. Again, thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.